All right, hi everyone. So this is chapter 8. This is market structures. Now, this is just a review video. Okay, there's a lot of stuff that we've covered in class. So this video is just really there for revision, just to go through the market structures and to go through how to draw the market structures, which is one thing that kind of a lot of people find tricky. Obviously, enough you find it tricky. It's a tricky thing to remember. So just really quickly to review. What are we going to look at in market structures? There's 4 different market structures: perfect competition, oligopoly, and monopoly. And you should know straight away what are the characteristics of this. So just as we're doing this, we'll revise a little bit as well. Perfect competition, there is many sellers, they're a homogeneous product, and you're a price taker rather than a price setter. In perfect competition, many sellers of a similar product, very similar, but there can be differentiation. So different restaurants, builders, coffee shops, bars, restaurants, the whole lot. Monopoly sole supplier. They're rare in this country anymore because of European Union rules. The best one we would have is on Post and Northern Ireland, though you could argue that they're not really monopolies anymore. So really, we have to go kind of to the big tech companies, to the global monopolies, the Facebooks, the Amazons, the Google of this world. Although they also have characteristics of oligopolies, and we do have oligopolies in Ireland, and we'll talk about them. So the first thing we're going to look at is perfect competition. Very quickly, very quick review. This is the ideal market structure, but it doesn't really happen. It's quite rare in real life. It's really only there for kind of fruit and veg, farmers markets, milk products, etc. So before we look at the diagram, which we're going to do now, let's just go through the characteristics. There are many buyers in this market. There are many buyers in this market. There are many sellers in this market. So anyone can enter this market. There is no problem with anyone entering or anyone dropping out of this market. And it says it there, there's a freedom to entry and exit of this barrier, of this industry. No barriers to entry. The goods are homogeneous, which means they're identical, which means you selling it and your competitor selling it. There's no difference in quality. An egg's an egg, the tomato's a tomato, the potato's a potato. So there's no difference between you and your competitors. What else we got? Perfect knowledge in relation to prices and profits exist, which means anyone can enter and anyone can exit, but also it means that there's no value in you setting your own price because everyone knows that the goods are homogenous, which means there is no price wars. There's just a price. Okay. Each firm does seek to maximize profits, so they'll always try and when we start drawing it, we'll talk about that. So you want to maximize profits. There's no collusion because there's so many buyers and sellers that there's no one big firm that dominates this market. And the last one is firms face a perfectly elastic supply of factors of production. So let's kick straight off into it. That's all the theory we're going to really look at. So let us look and let's get drawn it. So I'm going to draw this and we'll draw it a couple of times. Okay, I'm going to draw it once, but I want you to kind of help me out here as we do this. So the first thing we're going to look at is we're going to kind of look at how prices are set. Okay, so if we draw this, I'm going to draw the long run or the short run and the long run. So we'll just do the short run first. So what happens in the short run? Well, in the short run, so let's just draw it. Let's draw it properly. And again, each of these, like every single thing that you do here, will give you marks. So drawing your graph properly. What I would recommend you do is you draw everything in pencil, go through everything in pencil first, and then you can kind of go back over with different color pens. And different color pens is quite important. So what we have here is we price and quantity. Different color pens makes it way clear what you're actually trying to do. So in this situation, I'm just going to put in the market. This is kind of the market supply and demand curves. Okay, you're generally not asked to draw this. You're generally asked to draw this. This is the short run. Short run for what are we doing? We're doing perfect competition. Okay, short run for perfect competition. Why can't I do that? Go away, you. Perfect competition. Okay, so market supply and demand curve. What does it look like? Well, a market supply curve just looks like this. So you have a supply curve, and we call that S, and then we change a different color pen, and we have a demand curve. And what does a demand curve look like? A demand curve just looks like so. So in any normal market, you're going to have a supply and you're going to have a demand curve. And when there's a supply and demand, what happens? Well, we reach equilibrium, and we reach equilibrium right about here. And when we reach equilibrium, we get an equilibrium quantity, and we reach an equilibrium price, which we'll call it over there. So there's a market price based upon the laws of supply and demand, depending on how many people buy, how many people sell, etc. So because there's a market price, when we're doing our firm's short run, our short run demand curve, our short run structure curve, we have a price. We have a market price. All right, we have a market price. Get rid of that ruler there. And as we know, this is our demand curve. This is also our average revenue curve. This is also our price curve, and it's also our marginal revenue curve, because every additional unit that we sell, we get the same amount of money from it. The marginal revenue, average cost, average revenue, all of these things we've talked about in previous videos. So we're not going to be going through them today. I assume when you're watching this video, you know what we mean by average cost, average revenue, marginal revenue, marginal cost, etc. So what is the situation in the short run? Now, in the short run, we're just going to look at a short run where supernormal profit is being made. So in the short run, we're going to assume that supernormal profit has been made, what we call S&P. So the first thing we draw, and again, we have to be careful when we draw these things. And this is why I'd recommend you draw them in pencil, light pencil, make sure you're happy that they've been drawn properly, and then just go over them in pencil or go over them in a highlighter or go over them in a different color mark, whatever the case may be. Try and use different colors at all times. So first thing we're going to draw, always draw the average cost curve. And it's just a U-shaped thing like so. Not a perfect U shape, but that will do. So this here is our average cost curve. Okay. Our next thing that we do, changing color, we'll go green this time, is we need to draw our marginal revenue cost curve. And from a previous video, from your working class, you will always know that your marginal cost curve cuts your average cost curve at the lowest point of the AC curve. So we've done that in a previous chapter, strand 2. So what we want to do is when we're drawing this curve, we kind of want it going up this direction here, straight through the average cost curve at the lowest point of the AC curve. So it can take a while, it take a little bit of practice to draw this. So again, just draw it straight up. Perfect. And that is our MC curve, marginal cost curve. So what do we know about what we've drawn here? Let's just change this to a different thing here. We know when we produce, and again, we'll go through all of this again, and we'll probably do this in another video. And we always produce where MC is equal to our MR. So where MC is equal to MR is where we always produce. And here's our MR curve, as well as our DARP curve, demand, average revenue, price, and marginal revenue curve. We always produce where MR is equal to MC. So we always produce there. Always produce there. And if we produce there, what's the situation? If we produce, that's the quantity that we produce. This is your Q1. If you produce there, what's your cost? Well, your cost when you produce there is right here, which means this right here is our cost. Now, if we cost, or if our average cost is here and our average revenue is here, what is all of this? All of this is SNP. This is our supernormal profits. All of this right here is SNP, supernormal profits. So I hope that makes sense. Very simple to do. So just to summarize again, just to make sure that we're on the right page here when we're drawing this to get full marks. This right here, the one thing I actually forgot to do is I forgot to put in P. That's our P1. There's our price. There's our quantity. Quantity 1, price 1. Demand, average revenue, price curve. We draw a straight line for our price curve because we're a price taker, not a price setter. We draw our AC curve, we draw our MC curve at the lowest point of our AC curve. And when we draw that, we always produce where MC is equal to MR, always. And at that point, this is our average cost. There's our average revenue. This is all supernormal profits. So just to get our full marks on this, we need to finish off 2 things. And we do this thing called SPECS, S-P-E-C-S, because they're always going to ask you to analyze the curve, or based upon the curve, what can we tell us about this? So number 1, we do it. It's called SPECS, and you can just write this straight down into your exam paper. Okay, S-P-E-C-S. Okay, because this is explaining the curve. And S stands for supernormal profits. Supernormal profits. So all we have to say here, let's just change the color just so we have it, is supernormal profits, or SNP is being made. Why is it being made? Because our average revenue, which is here, is greater than our average costs. Average revenue, AOR, is greater than our average costs. Okay, and remember, when we talk about average revenue and average cost. Your costs include normal profit. Your costs include normal profit. And we'll look at that when we look at the long-term one. So anything above average cost is giving us a lot of profit, huge amounts of profit. All we need to see here is P1. So P stands for price. So P1, which is over here, is the selling price. Is the selling price. Okay, C1 is the selling price. What else have I not done? So E, what does E stand for? E stands for equilibrium, and I did a little mistake there, because which point is our equilibrium point? Here is our equilibrium point. We always produce where MC is equal to M or. So E right there, that's our equilibrium, and we do need to show that in the graph. And all we need to say here is equilibrium. Let's just go back to the color pen. This occurs at E where MC is equal to M or. We always produce where MC is equal to M or. What does C stand for? C stands for costs. Costs, okay? Now, where's our cost? Our costs are right here at equilibrium. Here's our costs. Right there is C. You can write that in as well if you want. So C. So the firm produces at C, right here, produces average cost. And this right here is also, again, it's not kind of 100% clear, but it's pretty much the lowest point. It's kind of hard to say, and this is why it's kind of hard to. This is at the minimum point. The minimum point on the AC curve. Okay. So you'll generally try and produce, and you can kind of see there, it's pretty much at the minimum point of the AC curve. Okay. And then the last thing to say is S stands for scarce resources. So really what we're looking for S, we're looking for, is the firm efficient? Is the firm efficient? So S stands for scarce resources. And how do we determine if a firm is efficient? And we determine a firm is efficient if your costs are at the lowest point of the AC curve. If you can produce things as low as possible, that's efficient use of resources. So scarce resources, what are we talking about here? Is we're talking about the firm produces at the lowest point of AC curve. And we need to state that in our answer. Is that all right? So this is our short run curve for perfect competition. There is a long run curve that we need to know as well, but we will do that in another video because unbelievably, I ran out of time. Who would have thought? Okay, so watch this video again. Draw. And again, just a couple of things to know, like a couple of things to absolutely make sure you do. I need to see, the examiner needs to see different colors here. You do this all in black or all in red or all in purple or all in green or whatever. It's going to look an absolute mess. Draw it in pencil. Make sure you're happy that the lines are intersecting at the right points, and then just go over it. Go over it in marker, go over it in highlighter. You can do it here if you really want to highlight it. You can say, okay, there's that point here. And again, you can say, well, that's this curve here. And we can do all these sort of stuff to make it look interesting and to make it look pretty. But make sure you do it, because highlighting these things is the way you're going to get your top mark in the exam. Okay, hope that helps. We will do our long run now.